I already know.
Sup, fuckers?
Hello, we're back to the Outside Thinking Podcast. So we have a interesting development, I think, that Nick told me recently. Is that have you lost your faith in God, Nick?
I'm not going to talk about
Is that I wanted to talk about that
No,
because this is
because
a
I know-
philosophy podcast.
I know Max going to listen to this and I'm going to get fucking destroyed from my family, so I'm not going to talk.
No,
I'm going to get completely disowned if I talk about it.
really, dude.
But what you said is I understand why atheists find God hard to believe.
Okay. I mean, I thought that was going to be the whole topic. Like, I thought we were going to be able to talk for an hour about that.
No, I can talk about atheism itself. I won't talk about me being an atheist.
You want to just like skirt around that and just talk about the concept?
We could talk about the philosophies around atheism if you want.
All right, cool. Because obviously I'm a godless communist. I'm an atheist.
Also, you talk about yourself like that, Matthew. Shows how much of a fucking cuck you are.
Masochistic. Masochistic, atheistic, communistic, anarchism.
God damn it, Matthew.
Right?
But which philosophy involving atheism should we talk about first? Should we talk about hedonism like you? Should we talk about nihilism like me?
Well, those things are obviously connected, and we have covered them slightly before.
We could talk about the free thinking side of atheism, which is really where the idea, like the warfare between atheists and religious people, that comes in.
Also, the fact that the atheist arguments are sort of based around science, so there's sort of a conflict there between science and religion.
But that shouldn't be there. The idea of science is to give understanding of the universe. The idea of religion is to give meaning to the universe, which is inherently like fraudulent, I guess is the best way to put it, like flawed because there is no meaning to the universe.
That's nihilism.
Yes, it is.
Now, I don't believe in an objective morality, and that's where my nihilism lies, really. And that's connected with atheism too, because the Christian fundamentalist types and they're just religious fundamentalist types in general will claim that their objective morality comes from God, and that is unquestionable. But I don't believe in any of it. I don't think that there's any entity or higher force that decides what is good and bad and right and wrong. I don't believe that's true. I think all morals are subject to your individual perspective, really, and your cultural upbringing as well.
I mean, I guess you could say that. Like, how do I put this? Like, morals, I have a problem with the idea of morality because morality implies meaning. You know what I'm saying? Like, the closest idea, how about this? People believe that religion creates morality. I think it's vice versa. I think morality creates religion.
What do you mean by that?
Like, because you need, each religion values a specific set of morals, correct?
Yeah.
So, in essence, those morals would have had to be there in the beginning of the religion before they became valued, right?
Right. They just put it in their codes.
Their doctrines. So, in reality, religion couldn't have created those morals since those morals were there before the religion, correct? And when you have these morals and these idealisms, these morals are supposed to give meaning to your life, right? It's supposed to define the good and the bad and the ugly. Clint Eastwood reference. But these morals are supposed to define certain things throughout your life, correct? And these religions are supposed to identify what these are and why they're good or they're bad through morality in these things, correct? So in essence, you need to have the morality there to create the religion itself. Because there definitely has been always the idea of good and bad. There's always been the idea of false meaning, I guess is the best way to put it. But yeah, morality creates religion, and it couldn't be the other way around.
So I'm gonna take what you're saying to the farthest extent and say that I'm saying this, so you don't have to. Man created God. God did not create man. That's really like the essence of your argument here.
I'm not going to say that, because if there is a God out there, God would have definitely created man, right? But for God to live, how about this? God created man, but man can control God. I guess the best way to put it. Because, and really, in essence, a God needs to be believed needs to be believed into for it to even be understandably real, correct?
I know what you're saying, yeah.
So, in that form, God could have still created man, but he gave man the power to control God by giving us a free will, which is also inherently false.
The free will thing is kind of, that's like a big subject of, we should check if they can hear us. I'm gonna go on there right now. Check. But that's a big thing that people are talking about right now, is the free will versus like determinism, which is basically the idea that, it's Sam Harris talks about this. It's the idea that all of your choices are based on what's already happened to you and the people you've interacted with, and like everything is basically already predetermined by what's already happened. That's kind of like the future is determined by the past. That's determinism. Whereas free will is just the idea that you have free choice and you're a free working agent in the world to do whatever you want. But I'm not really tied to either side of that argument. I actually think that the truth lies somewhere in the middle, where we do have a freedom of choice, really, like that exists, but you are influenced, of course, in subtle, implicit ways by your environment. That's what I think.
I mean, I get what you're saying. I mean, I don't have a specific view on this, really, the whole free will versus determinism argument. Because, I mean, like, I inherently believe.
Here we go. Yeah, I can hear. Sorry.
I inherently believe that, like, free will is kind of, how do I put this? Like, moronic in a way, I guess. But I also think the idea of determinism is kind of moronic.
Well, I don't want to be tied down to the absolute deterministic philosophy, because what that's basically saying is your destiny is completely pre-decided for you. Really, you know what I mean?
I mean, I think the reason we don't all just kill each other or kill ourselves is because the universe creates a way for us to have the illusion of choice. Even though we all are born, we're all going to die, we all have specific points in our life, we all share similar things, similar dreams, similar ideas. So inherently, all of us are so tied together, so close together, that we really have no choice anyway.
That's interesting now, because like it depends on the scale you're talking about, right?
No, I'm talking about like universally.
Right.
There is no choice.
Right, but if you zoom in more just in the human experience, people's wants and needs are very different from each other individually.
Yeah, that's like differences between people are. Yeah, there can be, yes, differences between people in given points in time, but everybody throughout their life is going to have the same needs and the same wants. Sometimes at different times.
Not all of the wants, though, because think about when it comes to career, like not everybody wants to do the same thing.
But all those careers are tied into certain things.
Right. It's
and
all connected.
a lot of them, and certain careers follow certain paths. Where, like, if you are more of an English person, somebody who prefers English over mathematics, you tend to lean towards the idea of free will, right? Whereas,
you think so?
because writing has endless possibility, correct? Whereas if you look at mathematics, everything always has one singular answer.
Yeah.
So inherently, people, like, it leans one way or the other, but everybody is going to be set on one specific path. And if you really think about it, English and mathematics can be tied together very easily. So it's all just one choice, or one choice, quote unquote.
Nick's using Marxist terms here, talking about the illusion of choice.
I'm not talking about Marxism. I'm talking about.
That is a Marxist term, though.
I'm talking about Sartreism.
Well, Sartre was a socialist, like he was a leftist.
And even I even think Sartreism's wrong.
Or Sartre, let's say.
Yeah. I'm more of like,
My philosophy is close to his. Existentialist.
I'm a pessimist. I'm not an existentialist. Don't put me in that category, Matthew. Like my, how do I put this? I'm more like a Kierkegaardian nihilist.
Okay. He was an existentialist too, though.
Like he was the pessimist that created the ideas of existentialism.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't practice it.
Mm-hmm.
He just created the ideas of it. He's helped create the ideas of it. So I personally see Kierkegaard as a pessimist. I do not see him as an existentialist because he practiced pessimism while creating the ideas of existentialism. Right? His practice was pessimism.
But it'd be very hard for any given thinker to really live out their thoughts. You know what I'm saying?
Not
Like,
really.
I always find it so interesting when people point out, like, people like Jefferson or people like Lenin who, like, what they wrote wasn't really what they lived.
Yes.
But it's like you'd be hard pressed to really live what you write when you write such a like intensely specified type of idea. You know what I'm
then
saying?
you have people who are more mathematics based and do live out those things that they write. They say what they do, say as they do. Then you have people who are like Jefferson, who are like Marx, that are more English based, like you, Matthew. And they have a very hard time having their actions be similar to what they say.
Mm.
Whereas you have people like, for example, Kierkegaard, or for example, Sartre, who are definitely more mathematics-based people who live out what they say. I can't really say Kierkegaard because, like I said, Kierkegaard was a pessimist.
You were just talking about how he
but like Sartre and like Nietzsche both practice what they said. They both practiced their forms of nihilism.
Well,
whereas you have people like Kierkegaard, who definitely was a more English based. That's why he's able to create the idea of existentialism, right?
Yeah,
while practicing his pessimism.
I feel like existentialist thinking, because it's so rooted in like questioning reality, it requires like a person who's more temperamentally open to experience and creative to think that way.
I mean, I don't think it's fair to say that it's just like the English view, though, because mathematics, people who study who are more mathematics based definitely are open to that type of thing too.
But I see a parallel split where you say, like, you're basically saying, like, archetypally, the math science minded people are sort of like right, and the English type based minds are more based on the left. And there's the same split with like creative mind and orderly mind. There's the same. Yeah. There's a parallel split there.
And I mean,
that's actually research shows that the best predictors for your political alignments lie in your temperament there.
Yeah, and I mean, that's why I say a lot of people who are more mathematics minded or more left brained, I guess the best way to put it, definitely tend to lean more the right, more towards the right. And people who are more right brained, right brained being a more creative side,
and more emotional.
Yeah, more emotional side tend to lean toward the left. But where was I going? Oh yeah, pessimism and existentialism. I think before we like continue to talk about pessimism and existentialism, we should define them, Matthew.
All right.
Because like there's a distinct definition that's kind of hard to find by just us talking about what they are, right?
Right.
Because if you really think about it, existentialism, people who are existentialists, and I think this is more your philosophy, Matthew, is that like they believe that they don't have meaning currently in their life, but their destiny is to find that meaning, right? That's sort of your view, isn't it?
Yeah, in the way that like, you know, the like flowery explanation for that, which is like you can find your own meaning or create or decide for yourself.
Well,
yeah, that type of.
Whereas you have people who are pessimists that are like, I realize the fact that my life doesn't have meaning and that my life will never have meaning, so there's no point in even trying to give it meaning. So I might as well live out my life for the joys in my life, for what I like in my life, and fuck the rest. Because I can always just kill myself to get out of something. There is no consequence for it. That's my personal view. I'm a pessimist. I personally believe that, if I ever get into some serious fucking trouble, I can just kill myself.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
It's that's interesting how you describe yourself as a pessimist, because we had an argument or a little spat on this podcast before about AI and robotics and what that'll do. And I'm more of a pessimist about the future of AI than you are, really.
I mean, I think AI is an interesting idea because, like, and I think what we have the problem with AI is that, like, I believe that you believe that AI will take over once it's created. It will take over, don't you?
Well,
kind of like the Elon Musk idea.
Yeah, I'm afraid of, because Elon Musk says that, and he knows, he's like the expert in that field. So, and he said he like tried to warn people not to take it too far, and they didn't listen. He literally said that. So it sounds like a Terminator movie. Like we could be in for a whole new type of apocalypse, and not even just that. Just automation of jobs is another thing that I'm really scared of happening.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we should have automated jobs because it takes away.
But I think it's coming.
People.
I think it's coming.
Yeah,
and we both agree that people need jobs.
Yeah,
the left and the right agree about that.
People definitely need jobs. People need money to survive. And that's where capitalism starts getting corrupt and more authoritarian, is when we take out the people from it and it's just corporation.
But people on the left are already formulating solutions for this. And one of those possible solutions for the automation crisis that could happen is universal basic income. So all the people who could have these minimum wage jobs that are taken by the robots, they'll get like a check monthly.
I mean, I think
to supply their needs.
I think we should just go by the more capitalist approach, which is less like extremist, I think, in my opinion, and kind of boycott the businesses that are trying to automate the jobs more.
But the idea is that they all, like, of any given field, like fast food workers, all of them, like every company, like across the industry, like the whole industry will do it at once. That's the theory of what will happen.
So that's a monopoly. It's basically creating a monopoly, Matthew, and that's
well, no, it's not creating monopoly. It's these people already have the monopolies. You know what I'm saying?
So the government's got to step in and shut these down. The trust our.
You think we should shut down McDonald's, Nick? That's pretty radical.
I'm not saying we should shut down McDonald's. I'm saying we should shut down the monopoly created between fast food businesses. Because the way these fast food businesses are doing things is they're all agreeing to do certain things.
And so are the big tech companies as well.
Yeah.
They all agreed to kick Alex Jones off, for example.
And I mean, like, it's inherently authoritarian. I think authoritarian communist, to be honest.
What do you mean?
Because the way authoritarian communism, like Stalinism, for example, shuts down things is by completely shutting out the voice of something.
You're right.
So,
because there's in Stalinism, there's supposed to be like a one truth, and you're supposed to only go this way.
Yeah.
So they just cut off all the other directions. They're like, this is it.
And I think if we signed into law something that stopped the mutual creation of something in between specific business types, it would break down some of these monopolies. I guess the best way to put it. And then when they wouldn't, the government could step in. Really. Because that's when they're breaking a law, and the government can step in, like, because it's out of the company's hands at that point, and it comes into the government. Now it sounds very authoritarian, but that's just how it would have to happen. To break down monopolies, you need to create some of these more authoritarian antitrust idealisms.
Yeah, that's the truth.
And you guys know me. I'm a very libertarian person.
Yeah.
But I recognize that at certain points in time, some authoritarian methods need to be put in.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, so do I. I mean, it depends on what you mean by authoritarian, too. Like, some would say that, and this is an argument that is made by people on specifically the libertarian right all the time, that leftism is inherently authoritarian because it's regulatory and there's laws and stuff like that. And basically what they're trying to, or what they're actually saying is corporations should be entirely untethered by the government is really what the argument is.
Yeah, I'm not
that's Ancapistan right there.
That's perfected free trade. And I think that's just moronic.
That's the way they attack the left, though. They're just like, oh, it's inherently authoritarian. But in reality, or in my view, or in the left's view, or the libertarian left's view, it would be the right is sort of inherently authoritarian because they just allow the corporate power to happen completely unchained.
Not true. When you get into more my range of like conservative libertarianism, that's when we try to stop that. Because our capitalism right now, the capitalist society economy we have right now is very centrist. It is a very centrist idea.
Well, neoliberalism is the philosophy that, or the ideology that runs the world right now. And we're also seeing it being replaced by strongmen all around the world too.
Yeah.
And I want to make a video where I talk about basically how the world is ruled by a bunch of strongmen pretty soon.
Sounds like the fucking Illuminati.
No, but you gotta look around the world. You got Duterte in the Philippines, Bolsonaro in Brazil, Trump, Kim Jong-un. Think of more here.
Chinese.
The guy in China.
Can't remember his name. Vladimir Putin kind of does it.
Putin's a strong man. Maduro in Venezuela is a strong man for sure.
I forgot his name.
Yeah, we both forgot.
Isn't it Nicolas Maduro?
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah. So, and there are still some sort of centrist neoliberal people like Macron in France. Is that he's not a strong man? He's just like a Obama for France, really.
I mean, look what he's doing in France.
Yeah. Look at all the people he's pissed off in France.
Look at all the people Obama pissed off here.
Right. But look at all the people Trump pissed off here too.
Yeah. And I mean,
but Americans get angry easy. But so do the French. I mean, the French know how to change stuff. They know how to protest.
I mean,
you got to hand it to them, bro.
It's because they're legitimately burning shit to the ground.
French Revolution, baby.
Part 2. But as I was saying, capitalism we have currently is very centrist.
Yeah.
And not so much centrist left and right. And that's where I think it's so much of a problem. Because politically we have a very big split between left and right, right? Whereas the centrist economy we have isn't centrist left and right, it's centrist authoritarian libertarian. And that's where we have a problem.
Well,
because if we were to go more authoritarian, we'd go more towards a communist society, right?
Or a fascist society.
True. Whereas if we go a bit more libertarian, but not too fucking far libertarian, because if you go too wicked far libertarian, you get
we would be
completely free trade.
We would be anarcho-capitalists if we went too far libertarian.
Yeah. I mean, if I really had to put it on like a political compass where our economy is right now, it's like a little bit right and kind of just right on the center line.
I agree there. I agree entirely.
But basically, if we drop it like a little bit more libertarian on that political compass, that political graph, we'd get a lot of these antitrust ideals. Because we go too left, or not too left, too down, too south, then you just allow these free trade and you allow these companies to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
But if you keep it at like a relative, like understandable drop, then you have these antitrust laws that you can put in, that you input to make sure companies can't do all this crazy shit that they're doing.
Well, what it would also do is really like the authoritarian element of neoliberalism is the war element, is warfare. That's one of the major things that makes it sort of up there, you know?
I think warfare is something that needs to happen, though.
What do you mean?
Like, warfare is always going to happen.
Yeah, you have this idea of it like it's like a human nature almost.
Yeah, it is human nature.
But I think because I've got these
look at the French, like you were just talking about the French. If you look at the French, this centrist, more left centrist. I'm gonna hate on the left a little bit here, but I'm not trying to be biased when I'm saying this. The centrist French leader inputted these really high taxes, right? Like what?
On the people.
What Ocasio-Cortez.
No, that's a top marginal tax rate. I'm joking. That's for the ultra rich.
But still, Ocasio-Cortez does want to raise the taxes, even for the citizens, not as much as she wants to do for the rich. But
she wouldn't have implemented the gas tax the way that Macron did. She would not have done that.
Yeah. I mean, but as I was saying, when you have these things, the people are going to fight back.
Yeah.
People, when they need something, their survival instinct kicks in, and they'll be, I need to fight for this. It's either I fight for this or I leave.
But wouldn't you agree that the offensive, invasive, like totalitarian wars that the U.S. fights today are unnecessary?
No, I would not say that, because if
But we're literally in there for bullshit reasons.
I mean, if we were to pull out of there, though, like with the argument for oil, like the oil invasions, if we didn't go in there, the oil prices would be like $10 a fucking gallon. It would be ridiculous. Because we don't have a lot of oil in the U.S., believe it or not.
Mm.
For fuck's sake, we trade with Saudi Arabia, I think it is. Literally,
Yeah.
we trade them fucking sand for oil. We trade them sand for liquid gold, basically.
But see, like that's the issue I have with this global capitalist system is the profit motive there causes violence.
I mean, the same thing would happen with socialism and communism, though, because inherently for communism to work, it needs to expand. And the way a lot of this is going to happen, especially in more conservative societies, is you're going to have to invade them.
Yeah, that would be the Marxist-Leninist idea, right? Is international revolution and expansionism.
Yeah, but that you'd have conservative societies that just wouldn't want this. So those communist societies that did become, when they would be trying to convince these more conservative anti-socialist societies that they shouldn't do this, or anti-communist societies, they would just have to they would just come to the point where they literally need to invade.
Rebels in this society try to revolt and fail. Failed revolutions would cause the big red front to come in.
I mean, and especially if in the case of failed revolutions, guess what's going to happen after that revolution fails? The government's going to input these extremely capitalist.
Yeah, and maybe if they're crazy enough, they'll do what people like Duterte have done and start shooting communists as well. Like, you just kill them.
Yeah. And I mean, like,
for political differences, you just shoot them.
So the idea of international revolution could fail very easily.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. It could definitely.
I don't believe in a violent revolution.
You want political revolutions, which would take literally hundreds of years, Matthew.
Well, we don't. If we made enough progress, we might have those hundreds of years. You know what I'm saying? Specifically on the climate change front.
I mean, like I said in the last podcast, with Ocasio-Cortez's new Green New Deal, which I find very funny how she calls it the Green New Deal.
That's the word for it.
Yeah, but she talked about, before that, she talked about how, like, the racism in FDR's cabinet and the racism in the New Deal. And then right after that, talked about creating a Green New Deal.
Yeah, but that's what it is, though. Like, it's the same type of policy.
I just find it funny. Because, like, even if it is different, it's still going to hurt in the long run.
How so?
Because people are sheep and they want to understand it.
What do you mean?
Like, the people they'll hear her talking about how the New Deal was racist, bigoted, crappy. And then she would talk about that she's saying, oh, I want this Green New Deal. And then people would associate the old New Deal, the racist, bigoted, crappy.
I didn't even hear
with the new Green New Deal. But
yeah, you're right.
Nonetheless, with the Green New Deal, Ocasio-Cortez's Green New Deal, instead of a 10-year plan, I really think it should be a 30.
Okay.
Because then get this, then it costs less for the government, costs less on the people. It's more understandable for the people, so they'd be more for it. Be more understandable for the politicians, so they would be more for it. It would get passed through the Senate like fucking that, man. It would be passed through the Senate in the snap of a finger. Because even the Republicans would be for it. The more not fucking extremist Republicans would be like, this makes sense. We need to start doing climate change.
Yeah, these types of policies are actually highly popular even within the Republican
Party. And instead of with the 10-year plan, and you have we would have to drop at least 10% of all of the fossil fuels we use every fucking year. Every year, right? Whereas if you do a 30-year plan, which is, yes, it is a little bit worse for the environment. I will hand you that point, but it's better for the people. because instead of 10%, you're only dropping 3 to 4% every year, or 3 to 5. Let me correct myself. 3 to 5% every year. So if one year we did 3, the other year we would do 5, the next year we'd drop 5%.
Mm.
And this would input more green ideals, and it would allow the government to be, oh, we want to buy your property for a reasonable price so we can input these solar farms, or these wind farms, and all of these things we need to run a fossil fuel-less society.
Yeah, and then you get people jobs working.
And it creates a lot more jobs, and even at that point, it promotes capitalism. I'm for it.
Well, but let me tell you, the issue there is really, honestly, like most of the issue with that is just the fact that the hard left, like the real progressive people, hate slow, gradual ideas. Like we want like fast, like quick solution. Like
yeah, but if you
talk to people, or you listen to people on YouTube and stuff like that, what the hard left wants is like end all the wars now, completely legalize weed now. Socialize healthcare now, completely. Socialize the fucking education system completely, right now.
Yeah, but
end fossil fuels right now. Like they want like quick, like snappy, like boom.
Yeah, but that's not how politics actually works.
But when you say like 30 years, well, you could say that like that's not how politics actually works. But the left hates the way that the fucking political system works right now because it doesn't work for us.
We have a slow political system that allows us to have these checks and balances that we need to run the government, right?
I think that just kind of enforces centrism, though.
I disagree.
Because what I would wonder with a 30-year plan is like, what if the next administration turns out to be super far right and just ends the plan, right? That would be one issue. And another issue would be, what if they just said they were going to do it and didn't?
Well, here's the thing. For something like a Green New Deal to happen, work realistically, they need to amend it.
Amend it what direction?
They would need to make it into an amendment.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
They would need to make it into an amendment. And get this, it's a lot harder to take down an amendment than to create one, right? Then even if you did have an extremely Republican, which you probably wouldn't, because if the Green New Deal was working well, get this, they'd want another more centrist president instead of somebody like fucking Hillary Clinton or Trump. They're both extremely right and we're extremely left.
Well, Hillary Clinton is not a left winger.
She's extremely corporative left. She's extremely authoritarian left.
Nah.
Yeah, I think
so. She's top right, bro. 100%.
She's not
a real leftist.
She's beloved by the left.
No, bro. The real left hates Hillary Clinton. That's why we liked Bernie better.
I don't like Bernie either.
The real left went towards Bernie. The nominal corporate Democrats and all of that crap.
Which is most of the politicians in the left.
Yes. And the right, though. Let's be real. Most of the U.S. politicians overall are corporatists.
Yeah, that's why they like corporate-based people.
And Hillary was, as I called her, the perfect epitome of everything wrong with our political system. And Trump was the perfect example of everything wrong with our culture. But so it was like you got those two choices. Like, what are you talking about? Like the worst of the worst in both ways? Like, nah. Like that was one of the worst possible election cycles. Like 2016 for presidents was not a good choice at all.
I mean,
I think we both agree because I don't think either of us aligned very well with either candidate at all.
Definitely. Like I definitely lean more towards Trump than Hillary.
And I definitely would rather have voted Hillary than Trump. Not that I would have.
But that's also because both of them are like, I'm more conservative, you're more liberal. And I just couldn't stand having Hillary or Bernie for that matter.
But you know, people who are sort of like nominally liberals, like they're by name liberals, but you actually talk to them, they don't really know what they're talking about. They're just against discrimination. Like those people were Hillary supporters, and I hate that. Like the people who just stab you in the back. It's like, first of all, they support Bernie, and then they move to Hillary. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, but Bernie.
Don't you know that Hillary rigged it against him? Like, why are you giving in? Bernie did what?
Bernie supported Hillary after he dropped out.
Bernie he was taking it on the chin like a champ, bro. That's what
Oh my
Bernie
fuck,
does.
Matthew.
Bernie is
Okay, you just complained about people who wanted Bernie in the beginning and then supported Hillary.
Yeah.
And then but Bernie did the
they're
exact
voters.
same fucking thing.
But Bernie didn't have a choice, dude.
Yes, he did. He could have just said, I don't support either of these candidates because both of them are fucking terrible.
No, but like
That's what I would have said if I was in Bernie's position.
But it was a calculated political move, and honestly, his advisors, who probably don't know shit, probably told him to do that.
He still did exactly what you fucking said, Matthew.
But he's not one of the voters, though.
He's still the politician that the voters are voting for, which honestly makes it a bit worse.
I'm not mad at Bernie for that.
I am.
Because I don't think he actually meant it. It's mine.
If I was in Bernie's position, I would have just said, please just abstain because both of these fucking people are terrible.
I would have done the same thing too, but then I would have been kind of scared because if I knew that they had just rigged a primary against me, and I knew that, like, you know, Seth Rich wraps his car around a tree or whatever happened there, right?
Fred Hillary's gonna.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, I'm about to join the Hillary Clinton body count here. Like, whoa, I better keep my mouth shut. You know?
Yeah, that's exactly what he would have been doing. He's like, I just don't support either of these candidates. That's him keeping his.
I just think there's a pressure when you're at the DNC and you know what I mean? Like, there's a political pressure on you to
and it's up
to endorse the candidate of the party you ran in, right? No, but they all do that though. Ted Cruz did it too.
Yeah, and I'm not saying Ted Cruz did a good thing because both of them did a bad thing. It's up to the politician. It's like one thing you need to be able to do as a politician is to be able to stand up against that political pressure of doing something wrong.
No one does that though nowadays. No one.
I would.
I mean, I feel like I would too, but I'm not really mad at Bernie for that.
I am.
Maybe the day it happened I was, but
like, it's just both of them are kind of shitty candidates. And I don't think Bernie's that good of a candidate either.
How so?
Because he would spend too much money.
That's not really a good argument though, because you realize that he's spending less money in certain areas and spending more money in areas that we don't spend.
It would take a lot of money by itself to change those policies in the first place.
What do you mean?
Like, in order to change a policy, you need to spend a fuck ton of money.
Well, it's not really. It's not just that. It's also budgeting. Like, we spend less money in the military, more money in education and healthcare. And also, his tax code would be vastly different.
We don't spend that much on the military anyway.
Dude, what are you talking about? We spend like more than half.
No, we don't. That's false.
All right.
We spend like, I want to say like 35% of our budget on the military.
That's still a lot, though. Even if that is true.
Russia spends something like 60, I'm pretty sure. China spends something like 70.
I'm not a fan of the Chinese or Russian governments as they are right now.
And China's a very socialist government.
Let me explain to you what the communism in China is. It's the word for capitalism in Chinese is actually like the word for socialism with capitalist control or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So what they did was they have capitalism run by ex-communists. China is not really socialist anymore.
Still,
it's a capitalist country.
Not really.
It's only socialist by name. It's just like the fake left wingers.
It makes they're a corporate socialism, which is just communism. That's why they have slaves, Matthew.
No, but real communism, there are no slaves, there are no chains. You have nothing to lose but your chains.
I don't think so. I think the way Marx would truly want communism.
I don't think he would want state socialism at all.
I think that's what would happen under Marx.
If Marx ruled the world?
Yeah.
I don't know, because
it's the only way socialism can really work.
Are you sure?
Yes, because in order to.
But you don't know that.
You need to be able to enforce those taxes as a government.
So
you need to have some.
You don't need to have like fucking.
So you need to spend
Stalin's fist up everyone's ass for that.
You need to spend a lot of money to be able to pay all these people, these tax collectors, which are really honestly at this point going to be like military officers, or tax collectors, quote unquote, coming in and be like, hey, we're taking like at least 30% of your crops, taking 60% of your income, taking blah, 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 blah. To enforce these extremely high taxes, which the people really don't want to pay, they need to send military officials. And the way they do that is by having a high military budget. In order to have, for communism's tax revenues to work, they need to be able to enforce it. They need to be able to scare the people, which is the people in chains, basically. The communist civilians are literally scared into paying their taxes.
I wouldn't do communism that way.
Then your communism would fail, Matthew.
What do you mean by
because
fail?
nobody would pay your taxes.
But the way that worked didn't work either. Soviet Union failed.
Yeah, it's because the bureaucracy literally just set up a new version of capitalism after.
That's what China is now, though. It's just a different kind of capitalism where the ex-communists run it.
That's just democratic communism, Matthew. That's
not really, though.
Or that's very, very authoritarian centrism. I wouldn't say it's capitalism.
China also is authoritarian, and it's not only that way. It's also like very like you can't speak out against the government.
Yeah, that's entire authoritarian centrism.
Yeah,
entirely authoritarian. If you can go as far authoritarian as you can go and just go completely centrist, that's where you get that.
You have to use like specific internet services, I think. Like it's weird. If you visit there, you have to like literally like keep your mouth shut, like just hush.
Basically.
I don't like that. I actually really love the First Amendment. I really love freedom of speech as a value, which is weird for someone to say on the left because somehow in the last 5 years, freedom of speech became a right-wing position, which is odd because it always was a left-wing position before that. But
I think you'll find that a lot of the time conservatives, like newer conservatives, tend to lean more towards the left of, or what was considered the left of the previous generations.
There's an odd cultural shift
because if you really think about it, like the conservatism of today is the liberalism of JFK's era. Really.
Well, what do you mean by that?
The right now is the left of JFK's era.
Like the hippie movement?
No. I'm talking about like JFK's leftism.
Oh.
That's current conservatism.
Well, JFK wasn't that far left, though. He was.
That's where our
JFK wasn't really a leftist.
I'm not saying he was a leftist. I'm saying he was a Democrat because he was. He was a Democrat of his time. So the Republican Party of today is the Democratic Party of JFK's era.
But the Republican, do you mean the voting bloc or the politicians?
The policy and the politicians.
But that is still like so far right, though.
Yeah. And I mean, not even really, because if you look at the.
What do you mean not even right?
If you look at a lot of the left of JFK's era, when JFK started putting in all these anti-segregation policies, started passing all these anti-segregation policies, a lot of the people on the left at that time were very against it. They were like, we want segregated schools. That's what the left was saying. Yeah.
I don't know anything about this.
Like legitimately,
we should stop talking about this because I don't know if that's true or not.
I feel
like the left wing would never argue for segregation.
There was a senator, a Democratic senator, that was like, anti-segregation will never work.
That's weird.
I open up an incognito tab. Whoops. Let me find it real quick.
Sounds like my niece is here.
Possible. Why does it keep on not fucking spacing?
We've bounced around so much this episode, dude.
Yeah.
We were gonna talk about atheism, and then we didn't at all. We talked about existentialism, and then whatever the hell we're talking about now, neoliberalism, I guess.
He's a Southern Democrat.
Right. Well, yeah, those like blue dog Democrats, I can imagine them being pro segregation because there was probably like a racist strand left in the Democratic Party. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I think it was James from Fairmont.
Guy kind of looks like a bronzer Ronald Reagan.
He is a bronzer Ronald Reagan. Barry Goldwater, Democratic. No,
Goldwater was a right winger.
I'm reading something wrong. He was for the Civil Rights Act. Oops. I think it was this guy, James Strom Thurmond Sr. was an American politician who served 48 years as a United States Senator in South Carolina. He ran for president in 1948. Blah blah blah. As the state's rights Democratic Party candidate, receiving 2.4% of the popular vote, 39 electoral votes. Thurmond represented South Carolina in the United States Senate from 1954 until 2003.
Whoa, he was in power till 2003.
Yep.
Wow.
At first as a Southern Democrat and after as a Republican. Blah blah blah. Yeah,
So this guy was a right winger.
he became a right winger after. A magnet controversy during his nearly half century Senate career. Thurmond switched parties because of his support and conservatism of the Republican presidential candidate Senator Barry Goldwater.
Ah.
Blah blah blah.
Goldwater's conservatism was more libertarian.
Yeah. Barry Goldwater set up the Civil Rights Act, and this guy was against it. It was the only thing he didn't like about Barry Goldwater.
What a thing to disagree with. Like, it's like the worst. Racist. Okay.
But yeah, like a lot of Democratic, like Southern Democrats, and
Yeah.
during Kennedy's era were very anti.
I was just hoping you weren't saying some dumbass PragerU historical revisionist bullshit.
Nope.
Like, oh, Hitler was a socialist. Oh,
I think Hitler was the.
everyone bad in history was left and everyone good was right. That's what PragerU tries to tell you.
No, I think honestly, I think Hitler was very like extremely authoritarian, like somewhat right, like one or two statements.
Well, it moved because at first the Nazi Party had an actual socialist part of it, and then after the Night of the Long Knives, Hitler massacred them all, especially their head, their leader in the Nazi Party, who was Gregor Strasser, who ran like Strasserism is like this Nazi socialism idea.
It's very state socialist.
Yeah. So Hitler just fucking murked him because he didn't want to have that in his party anymore. And also, Hitler connected the big Jewish conspiracy with, like, you know, the old term cultural Bolshevism, and the Bolshevik Party was Lenin's party.
Yeah,
that was part of their propaganda to say that basically the Jews and the socialists worked together to make Germany lose World War One.
I mean, it was a Jewish general that basically signed the surrender.
But that wasn't the only factor that
I think it was a
Germany.
Jewish leader of Germany at the time too.
Regardless of like, because the Jews did actually have like a cultural influence in German society there as well. Like they worked in journalism and they worked like media.
Yeah,
and they ran the banks and stuff like that.
that's why there's the joke
about
right Jews loving money nowadays.
But the right solution, like, why is that? You know what I mean? Like, why is that even a problem? First of all, that a specific demographic has those positions, right? Like, I would counter argument this with the Jordan Peterson idea that you should judge people on their individual merits rather than their group identity.
Yeah,
it's because the Nazi Party was an identity politics party for German working class. That was the whole point.
But that's the inherent problem with that statement is that politics is always going to be a group thing. It's not going to be an individual thing. So you can't
That's actually the leftist counter argument to Jordan Peterson's point that all politics is kind of by nature a little bit identity influenced.
Yeah, it's because it's true.
But still, it's not a good idea to condemn a whole group.
Yeah, I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying that like you can't expect politics to be judged by individualism because inherently it's all group.
We both like Peterson though, and he's ultra individualist. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Yeah, and that's where I kind of disagree with him when it comes to politics because a lot of that individualism politics just won't happen.
Well, the reason why he thinks that way is because his job is clinical psychology.
Yeah.
And he's completely based on helping people with their individual problems. So that's how he views the world. That's really the reason why he thinks that. But
I think you can't expect politics to be individualized. You just can't. It's not realistic.
But I think we both agree that playing the identity politics game is dangerous.
Don't get me wrong, it is. It creates fascism.
On both sides, though. On the left as well.
Yeah.
I'm willing to say that.
And I mean, I'm not trying to sound Pray-Per-You-ish. I'm not trying to sound anti-left. But honestly, I think a lot of the left's identity politics can be worse in some cases than the right's identity politics.
Nowadays. Not like
because if I'm being
60s, but like nowadays, like third wave feminism and that kind of thing is what you're talking about,
or even like leftist corporatism.
What's that? That sounds like an oxymoron, bro. Leftist corporatism.
Well, no. If you like look at people like Hillary, who play the leftist corporatism.
Well, she played identity politics to get support by the left, but that doesn't make her a leftist.
She played the identity feminist politics.
Yeah,
but she also like
not only that, also minorities too, not only women.
A lot of her policies definitely was like for corporation. It was leftist corporation. Or
I wouldn't call it leftist.
It's democratic corporation. How about that? Yeah, because leftist is definitely more like communistic, socialistic.
Yeah,
but like democratic corporatism is that whole. I think that's kind of like one of the most dangerous ideas of the left.
Well,
most dangerous identities of the left.
I wouldn't even count it in the real left. That's where I make the distinction between a corporate Democrat and a real progressive.
Here's the thing. I think you count a lot of authoritarian left as not actual left.
Well,
that's your problem, Matthew. You don't count
the
authoritarian left as left.
But I count Marxist-Leninists and I count the tankies, bro. I count all.
Yeah, but Leninist was centrist.
No.
Yeah, he was.
Dude, no. Lenin hated
not centrist left right. He was centrist authoritarian libertarian.
Until later on, when he actually took power.
Yeah, and then his power corrupted him.
And then he got sick, and then Stalin really took over. And then Stalin was like 10 up, like top.
Yeah.
Because Stalin was like, no one's going to disagree with me. You can all fucking freeze in the gulag if you do that. Like, Stalin was very just my way, or the highway, bucko. But I don't think you should really do things that way, because, like, what if you're wrong, Stalin, huh? What if you're wrong?
Stalin was wrong on a lot of things.
Stalin wasn't really the mind of the... You know what I'm saying? Like, he was a strong man, too. He was a cult of personality. Like, Lenin was that as well, but Lenin was smarter. He was more like the brains. Lenin was an organizer, too. And he was also fiercely sort of revolutionary. Like, did you ever watch the video of where Bertrand Russell, like, actually met Lenin and they talked? And he was talking about how Lenin made a joke about, like, shooting some rich guy. And it made him kind of, like, uncomfortable because Bertrand Russell was kind of, like, a little bit richer than Lenin was. And he was like, I didn't like that very much.
Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting little historical.
I mean, I think Stalin, I think his major problem with Lenin was the fact that he didn't think Lenin was Marxist enough.
Stalin didn't think Lenin was Marxist enough?
Yeah, really. I think that's was Stalin's biggest problem with Lenin. Because Lenin was a very centrist communist. He was a centrist libertarian, authoritarian. And Marxism inherently, Karl Marx was definitely a more authoritarian idea. Definitely more authoritarian ideas. If you really think about it.
See, I put Marx himself in like if we broke the 4 into extra 4, you know what I'm saying? So like you've got
like 4 in each square.
yeah, you got like that, and then you've got like that. Marx
Yeah.
is like here, and Stalin is here, and Lenin is probably here too.
See, if I did that, like Lenin would probably be like on the line, right?
Mm.
And I'd probably have Marx probably like right there, and then probably have Stalin like right here.
Yeah. And then Mao is like as authoritarian as Stalin. You want to go for other countries, and then Fidel would be like.
I think Fidel was near Lenin.
Yeah, somewhere in the more.
And then if you have Venezuela,
well, see, that's a whole different story. I don't know all that much about Venezuela.
Venezuela is definitely up near Stalin. Nicolas Maduro is definitely Stalin-like.
I don't know all that much about how left-wing it actually is, though, because the socialism of Venezuela is not done right at all.
Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro is like right there. But
I can talk about revolutionary communist dictators all day. Like we could do like a full feature on that.
I mean, Nicolas Maduro had a coup, so it's kind of a revolution. But what was I talking about?
Wait, was he elected by coup?
He was the leader of the military, and he killed the leader.
Venezuela. Now Trump is trying to sponsor the same thing to happen to him, right?
No, he's
by the opposition party, not the military.
No, he's talking about if like when he agreed to sign the government back into turn the government back on, I guess that's what he put it.
Right.
He said, "I'll have the government back going for 3 weeks so we can pay the workers that haven't been paid." Right.
Good on you.
But after those 3 weeks is over, if the Democrats don't agree to funding towards the wall, I'm just going to have the military build it. And I'm going to.
The military aren't builders, though.
He can have the military build it. He can sign an executive order on the military now.
That's not what they do, though. They're soldiers. How are you gonna?
Nick,
they don't know anything about architecture. How are you gonna build something?
The government can just hire architects and have the military build it.
That's so weird.
Like legitimately,
that's actually really weird.
Trump would pay for the architects himself.
I know Trump's such a
because Trump has the money for that shit.
He has a weird thought process. I'll just do it this way.
I mean, he could have the military build it theoretically, but it costs. I don't know how he'd pay for it.
Yeah, I don't really know how he'd pay for it.
I think he wants to take it out of the military budget
and then just pay him back.
I think he wants to take some money out of the military budget to fund the wall, and then put it after the wall's done. They can put it back into the military.
I think the whole wall is a waste of time.
Yeah, me too.
And money.
I think we should annex Mexico.
What?
You know what annexation is, Matthew?
Yeah. Putin did it to Crimea and the Ukraine.
I'm not talking about communist annexation.
Putin's not a communist.
Kind of communist.
No, what are you talking
about? He was the fucking leader of the KGB.
Yeah, but he's not.
The KGB is so communist.
Yeah, there were the communist secret police, but he doesn't run he doesn't run Russia like a communist country.
He was also the leader of the CCCP.
How long was he the leader of the CCCP?
No idea, but
that's powerful in the Communist Party.
Yeah.
He definitely turned his back on that though, because they're not socialists there, are they?
A little bit.
Not really though.
I think they definitely got more of a leftist economy than we do.
Putin is also homophobic.
Yeah, hyper.
And he kills journalists that
disagree with him.
Yeah.
Exactly why I'm calling him kind of communist.
Yeah, that is a common thing amongst the authoritarian left, is shoot people who disagree with you.
Right.
But authoritarianism across the board does that. The whole helicopter thing, that whole meme about dropping commies out of helicopters came from Pinochet, because Pinochet, who ran Chile, who was a fascist, did that to leftists in his country. It's like if you, depending on where you are geographically in history, you'll either get shot or get rewarded for your political leanings. It's weird.
But like safety. What was I saying about fucking? What were you saying about Putin?
He's not really a communist.
No, I mean before that.
What bot train was I on?
That's a good question. That's why I'm asking you.
Something to do with I don't even know, man. I was talking about the wall, and then we were.
Oh yeah, annexation.
Yeah, that.
I think we should annex Mexico because a lot of people in Mexico want to immigrate to our country anyway, right? And a lot of people who have immigrated to our country probably want to see their family again, right?
Mhm.
Family that's still back in Mexico. So if we annex Mexico, the people of Mexico become U.S. citizens, right?
Already, the Trumpists are fucking totally against that.
Yeah, kind of. Like the extreme Trumpists. The Mexican populace becomes U.S. citizen, right?
Mm.
We gain control of. We basically occupy Mexican land, the Mexican country.
Yeah, it becomes U.S.
It becomes part of the U.S.
Kinda.
The Mexican government pays taxes to the U.S. government, basically,
Right.
while still kind of running it.
Right.
Like it would be like Mexico would be like a state.
Yeah.
Or it would be broken up into states.
One big Puerto Rico.
Like Puerto Rico is basically a state because we have annexed Puerto Rico. But and when we do that with Mexico, the Mexican government still runs Mexico, and Mexico keeps its culture and keeps its ideals and all that.
Mm.
But it becomes part of our. It pays taxes and all this stuff to our government. And we get money from it. Whereas but the difference with them is they don't get to vote.
Yeah.
At least not yet.
Well, I mean, I don't even think I'm for that.
Why?
Because
I think both the right and the left would be for it because the left get what they want with Mexicans having the protection of the U.S. government, the Mexican immigrants having the protection of the U.S. government, whereas the right would be for it because we're getting more land, more places to run business, more all of it.
But it seems like more American imperialism. That's what it seems like. Just more American empire taking over stuff.
We're not taking it over because in order for us to annex Mexico, they have to agree to it.
But you're basically having them agree to have a government that just serves our government. So that's
how states work.
But that's just expanding the American
fucking empire. How states work.
You know what I'm saying, though?
It's how states work.
But it's not a state; it's its own country. It's a sovereign nation.
No,
and you're like, oh, it's losing its sovereignty because everyone's leaving, but not everyone.
If we annex it, they become sovereign citizens of the U.S.
Not citizens though, because they don't have voting rights, and our definition of citizen includes voting rights.
I mean, at first they wouldn't have voting rights. As they become U.S. citizens, they would gain these voting rights.
Mm.
And get this: all of those people who are starving in Mexico trying to illegally immigrate into our country anyway, guess what they would get? These free visas that have thousands of dollars on them to support them.
But here's the other problem is it's not just Mexico where all the immigrants are coming from. It's all the Central American countries, really.
Yes, but if we just annex Mexico, and the majority of people immigrating into our country are Mexicans, right? I want to say it's something like 80% of them. So once all of those people who are going through that immigration process that are from Mexico get annexed and become U.S. citizens, it just ends up being all these other Central American immigrants coming in, which will make the immigration process go way quicker. Because because all these people are leaving the immigration process.
Right.
These 80% of the Mexicans that are trying to immigrate to the country automatically just become U.S. citizens because we annexed them. So the immigration process goes by quicker too. Because instead of having the extra 80%, we only have the 20% that's coming in from other Central American countries.
But I feel like this idea put into practice would just lead to basically their government kind of just becoming cronies for the American government.
Yeah.
And then we would basically exploit all of Mexico. Like we just take their money and shit and just
They would have to pay taxes to the federal government. The people of Mexico would have to pay taxes to our government, like
I feel
all
like
citizens do.
we would make their taxes high because we don't care about that
No.
much.
Look at Puerto Rico; they don't pay as much taxes.
But that's only because they're not a state yet.
Neither would Mexico, and they don't pay taxes higher than Puerto Rico. Doesn't pay taxes higher than normal U.S. citizens anyway.
They pay less.
Yeah,
they're not a state yet.
Exactly. Mexico would probably be paying less.
That's the right-wing argument for Puerto Rico not being a state, is because it could just keep being their whole capitalist utopia.
Puerto Rico could become a state if it wanted to. I think it would probably become two, honestly.
Or that guy, his name is Schiff, or Peter Schiff, I think, talks about that. He's like, oh, it's great. There's no taxation. Wow. Some libertarian economist guy that I've heard Joe Rogan talk to before.
Puerto Rico, if they wanted to, they could become a state. They could go through this whole governmental process to become a state.
Don't a lot of them want?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But the Puerto Rican government wants to stay itself.
Yeah.
Because they pay less taxes.
Right.
Right? So they're not losing as much money. And on top of that, their government would be split in half because Puerto Rico would probably become two states instead of one. And that would be a similar process with Mexico if they did want to become states, because the size of Mexico is pretty fucking big, so it'd probably end up being like 7 or 8 states.
Damn, this is like a wild idea. This is like when I remember you talking about your plan to invade Canada. It's like it reminds me.
That wasn't my plan. That was an actual plan put in during the Cold War because we were afraid Russia was going to invade Alaska.
Yeah.
And we had the plan to march up through Canada to go to Alaska.
I don't think we should like charge through the Canadian border and shoot Trudeau in the head and fucking like I don't believe in that.
And honestly, I think at this point Canada would just be like, yo, yeah, you can march guys up to Alaska.
Yeah, probably.
They'd probably just shut down one of their major highways and just allow our troops to just ride up there.
You know what I mean though? Like that sounds like an equally kind of not maybe the invade Canada is more crazy. Sounds like just a equally wild idea though. Like it doesn't sound like something that the U.S. government would ever do.
I think if less of our politicians were fucking extremists as fuck.
They're not though. It's all centrist neoliberalism.
No, it's not.
It's all corporatism.
We have a lot of extremists in the government. We have a lot of extremist politicians. If we had more centrist politicians, then this would probably pass. The annexation of Mexico would probably pass. If Mexico wanted it. Mexico would have to agree.
How is that centrist though?
Because we're creating more territory for our country.
It's an extreme idea though, because we don't do that to countries that size. Like ever.
Yeah, we could. You can annex a country no matter the fucking size of it.
But we don't do that yet.
We could. We don't, but we could.
That's weird.
And get this. The annexation of Mexico would probably take a fucking while. You know, I was talking about the 30-year plan with the Green New Deal.
No,
it would probably take something like 30 years to completely annex Mexico.
Just take 3 decades to annex Mexico, guys.
You know why it would take that long too? Because we would have to eradicate the drug cartels.
Like literally war on drugs there. That wouldn't go.
No, we wouldn't war on drugs because you could still legally do the drugs if the federal government passed that. You could still legally do those drugs.
I thought you meant wipe them out, like just fucking genocide.
No, we wouldn't kill them. I'm talking about arresting them and either deporting them.
Where? Honduras? Like
honestly, I think a lot of them. I think a lot of the drug cartels, knowing that Mexico is being annexed, would probably just go to Cuba.
Are you sure Raul Castro would?
Most of the Cuban government's run by drug cartel money anyway.
Yeah, well, not just them. Russia's probably not sending them money anymore, but
like legitimately most of like at least half of the Cuban government is run by cartel money.
Is it? I mean, yeah. Well, Fidel's whole idea was like, we'll take all the money we can get to start our revolution, no matter from who. Like, part of the funds for his revolution came to run his government came from America. Actually,
basically, like, excuse me, if what they would do is the Cuban government would be like, hey, if you pay us a certain amount of money, we won't stop what you're doing.
Right. Because, yeah, Cuba cares about Cuba. That's how it has always been.
Yo, we gotta end this soon. I gotta call my mom.
Okay, well, I don't know what the fuck to title this episode, but hope you enjoyed us not talking about the thing that we're going to talk about.
I mean, it still was a pretty good episode, though.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I hope so, but we'll see you next time.
See ya.